Okay, so here's the time we're gonna do a garden tour and show you the down and dirty on the weeds. Are there any? How big they are? How easy are they to pull? It's supposed to be no dig, no till. We'll see about that. So it's been 2 full weeks since I've been out here. I did have those areas where I exposed my dirt underneath the wood chips to access and turn the dirt so I could have a better outcome with my seedlings that were in that area, since I had that funny dirt that I had that didn't have any nutrition in it, didn't have any compost in it or whatever. It was not good dirt. So I'm gonna go around. We're gonna start over there and I'll just give you a tour. You'll get to see the things that are working, the things that aren't, which kind of surprises me. Some years I have had success with the other things than what I'm having success with this year. So we'll start here with the crooknecks. Yay, looks like I got some babies coming on in here. See, little tiny one, little tiny fruit. And they're doing pretty good. The cilantro is going to seed, which I haven't ever collected seeds before. Never, not beans, nothing. I've been a gardener forever and I never really tried. So I'm gonna try that this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the pretties look like. And I'll probably plant some more in another place. So that's crookneck. Crookneck, I had 3 plants here that I think a possum came in and got. It didn't look like, when they first happened, it didn't look like they were eating the plants. It looked like they were trying to dig to get out. Oh, I got a company here. But see, here's a weed. So this one was growing before I left and I just didn't take the time to pull it. So there is weed. It's just a little, you got to get down in there and get it, and then it comes out pretty easy. Pretty easy stuff. But for the most part, that's just the hay, or the straw, not hay. And doing pretty good. So this looks like a trumpet vine or something else. It looks like something good, not just a weed, so I wanted to leave it and see what it volunteered out to be. If someone else knows and recognizes it, you can let me know. So these are doing good. Now I have had to plant my crookneck cucumber squash seeds multiple times because of slugs. So now I did start planting way early when it was really wet. So that was a little bit of my problem, but I do have to put slug bait out. In Oregon, slugs are just kind of constant. So these are weeds. These are weeds that I had come up. Obviously, they're not in this area that's covered with the mulch, but they're in the rest of it. So, of course, you just come in and not such a big deal. But I do notice that unless it's exposed, there's no weeds. And I'll show you a place later where you can see what they would be doing if I didn't have mulch down. Normally, okay, here's an example of this is the straw. The straw actually had seeds in it. There was a big discussion on there on whether straw has seed in it or not. But straw does have seed in it, but it's an annual. Especially in Oregon, because the crops don't always get the same amount of sun across the whole pasture. So if one is later to grow than the other, then it won't get capped off, and so then those seeds will be still harvesting, still drying, being prepared before the cutters come through. So then you end up with these seeds. So I could pull this out, and it's an annual, so it won't be a problem. It won't grow back. And I'm not 100% sure because I'm not a hay farmer, but it's not hay. It is either barley or oats or something different than wheat. It's not wheat because wheat would grow back. Oh, it might be wheat. Yeah, it might be wheat because hay is a grass, not a grain, right? I guess my ignorance is showing. You guys can all fix me and tell me how it is supposed to be. So these are doing good. So these were replants in here, and you can see just little weeds coming in. This little guy's trying to make it in there. Oh, there's one coming here. I would have to probably protect him from the slugs. My scarlet runner beans are doing okay. I've never done scarlet runner beans since, well, I've done them before, but it's been like 10 years. So I've never done a trellis. So I'm kind of curious to see how far up the trellis they get. Got some more back here. So my little chicken pen is back there. These are patty pans, and I'm looking forward to growing those. And then Delgadas, I think, Delgada squash. And then I got the sickest bunch of zinnias from the store you've ever seen for my kids' graduation, and they all just looked like this. They were terrible. So I feel like this is starting to recover a little bit. But here's a good example. So this is dirt that I turned over to get the seeds to have a better chance. So I actually dug, even though I'm not supposed to till, I actually did, so that I could actually get the dirt that I had added that wasn't growing anything mixed in with the compost, and you know, I had cardboard down and different things like that, and it was successful. Obviously can grow some weeds pretty good. And oh, these had asters all over like crazy, and that's the only one I see, so that's a slug problem again, which is sad because there was a whole bunch before I left. And look, here's only one cosmos here too. All of these are weeds, so this is all grown in, since these would be the way my weeds be. Normally when I would go out of town, I go out of town and come back and the whole thing is infested with this stuff. All kinds of weeds every time, because Oregon just grows everything. So there's some poppies in here, and I'm not sure I could even pick one out because I'm not sure what a poppy seed looks like yet. But I might just have to start over with those flowers, because girl wants some flowers in her garden. So these are the gourds that you can make birdhouses out of, the big huge ones that you dry. So I'm really excited about that. And this is where I planted eggplant. And I've never grown eggplant, so I'm not 100% sure what it looks like, but I wanted to try it. And I know all of these are the nasty weed. I think this little guy is an eggplant seed, and I think this one over here is an eggplant, but I'll have to wait and see until they get a little bit more mature. So that is the difference. This is what I would deal with all the time. These would just constantly be growing up. Didn't matter how many times you turned the dirt, rotated it, or whatever. So bush beans are doing good on this side. I put them next to a climber, but they're not actually climbing beans, so we'll see what they do. And then I planted a couple weeks later, I planted them over here. So on this side, they're smaller, and this side gets more sun. So I wanted to plant them second so they would grow up. And then that is leeks, and those leeks were planted in the dirt that doesn't grow very good. So those have been some stubborn leeks. So they're pretty behind and pretty tiny. But here's another example. This is the corn. I've only got these 2 rows of corn in and these 2 rows. These 2 are just coming up, and they're not coming up very well because I think, look how swollen my hand still is from the bee sting. Isn't that sad? And I might have to replant that. I might just replant all 4 rows that I'm going to do on this side together, even though I wanted to stagger them. I'm ready to have my seeds all in and growing. So this is the part that's weird. Every other year I have done carrots amazing. Like I barely put the seeds down and carrots would grow real thick. I have planted my carrots 3 times. 3 times. And like this carrot is a carrot here, but it's so far behind carrot here. So sad. And when they first come up, the seeds come up, there's a ton of them, and I'm not sure quite what's happening, if it's a slug issue or if the dirt isn't happy with it. So there's like a random one here and there. So but that's kind of sad. So then we got some peppers, red peppers and bell peppers, jalapeno peppers, yellow peppers, poblano peppers, all kinds of fun ones. And again, here's a piece of the straw seed that's growing up, so I would take that out. And happy artichoke here, but it's first year, so I don't know if I'll get plants off of this one or that one, but it's kind of fun to have them. So these are beets that I planted. They're doing all right. I think they're thriving a lot better than the first crop did. There's a little celery there. There's a little dill there, or fennel. I guess it could be fennel, I can't remember. But as far as the weeds, we got another volunteer grass seed of some sort. And we got my lettuce coming on. It looks pretty healthy. Looks like it's doing good. And this is the one that I should be eating right now. And then we've got radishes. This is the second batch of radishes that I've done. And down the middle is some very behind onions. So, you know, these feel like they would go all the way till the fall. We'll have to see about that. And these weeds were there before I left, so they're obviously just healthy. That's some more lettuce, and we got my grape here. But, you know, it should tell me something when the actual dirt doesn't even really grow that great of weeds, right? So this is the dirt. Some of that dirt is the stuff I added thinking I would be benefiting instead of trusting my garden already. Snap peas are on like crazy. I've actually harvested off of them several times, and I'm going to keep going at that. Probably could come out here. They really go fast. And then these are mustard and arugula. and can't remember what I planted here, and I'm not sure if it's coming up. So if there's any mysteries in there, we shall see. But again, this was the first planting of carrot. Something ate the top of it off, but that's a carrot in there. So we'll let it fight for itself. But weirdly, it was the only carrot that came up, and it was one of my signals that the dirt wasn't good, because none of them come here, but over here, one came, and it was so strange. I was like, So this is the last section that I planted. Those are weeds. So, I mean, we're gonna be coming in here doing this. I can tell you I would do this all day long compared to having all of those crazy weeds for so long. This is actually a wildflower, but we'll still take it out. So that's it. Super easy. So here's some more different squash. Got ones in there. These are babies. We'll see if they actually catch up. These ones didn't come up. I think this is pretty dry under here. A reminder that I started my Back to Eden garden this year. So underneath some of this is layers of mulch that haven't actually had a chance to compost. Some of my thinking was to get ahead of for next year, but my tomatoes are doing great. And these are Brussels sprouts, and these are cauliflower, which I think I'm behind on those because these were my starts from inside my house, and they were really leggy, so I was happy that they just pulled through. So there's some Swiss chard that I just planted and some turnips, and they look like they're doing fine. Hollyhocks from a friend. These are 3-year-old hollyhocks. I got one here and one there and one there, and that one over there has a flower on it. I'll show you when we get there because it's so fun. And these are broccoli. They're looking pretty good. I have never actually grown any kale. Sometimes I wonder what I mostly just did cucumbers, tomatoes, corn, and the crookneck squash and zucchini and that kind of stuff, with a few add-ons. So to have my flower bed or my beds in place and not having to wait to rototill and all of that, I got braver and I got some more selection. So this is my first time growing most of these, what do they call them, brassicas or whatever. And so I got kale, and look, here's a weed that slipped in here. So I would just follow that down and give it a pull at the base, and it just comes out super easy. Oop, I got most of it. I didn't get the root. Let me get this one. There's another one hiding here. Get all the way down in here and pull, and look, so easy. It's like the easiest weeding ever. And there's not too much of it, so it's almost like you can come out here in one evening. So I tried to plant sunflowers in here, and they all came up, and the sluggies came in and got them. So the area that I exposed for the sunflowers is growing weeds. So that's how much weeds would be coming up all over my place. And all I have to do is add another layer of the mulch or dig down and plant them again, turn the dirt. So here's my hollyhock that's actually blooming. Aren't they pretty in there? So slowly opening up the base, get all the way up to the top. So here's my spices. I hadn't kept up on my weeding very good here, but it's still so manageable. I will take these kinds of weeds over the kinds that I would normally get. I'm telling you, it's so much less work. So much less work. I'm so happy with my transition, and I think it will only get better. The other thing that's really nice is that before I would water at the cool of the day in the morning or the evening, and I would water on the plants or at the base of the plants, and I would try really hard not to water in between or on the rows, because I knew my weeds would just come up like crazy, and they seemed to overtake the plants faster than anything you could do. And it was really nice to be able to water like a sprinkler and let it get everything wet and do its thing, and I just appreciated that. I just feel like that saves me so much hours of work. So my chickens got in here and they scratched here before I had a chance to stop them. But there is some different kinds of beets in here. And here is, what did I plant in here? It was another new thing that I can't remember. I'll have to think about that for a second. And that was the only come up of my beets before I actually planted this one. And then the potatoes. And here is where the bee's nest happened. So I should probably clean this up tonight now that the bees are all gone, hopefully gone. Got some exposed potatoes down in there. But there's the bee's nest. And you will see that in another video, which I will be linking shortly. And I didn't mulch higher and higher and higher. So This set of potatoes is actually done. It's blooming and it's done, and it's actually the part that gets the more light. The trees behind my red barn back here, the trees up there, they shadow this half of the garden earlier in the day. So these ones will be secondary to come on. Plus they're a different variety. So I have red potatoes and purple potatoes and white potatoes, and I'm sure they have fancier names than that, but that's good enough for me. It gets the job done. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep planting. And the one thing I have learned with the YouTube venture, there's my happy chickens over there. My YouTube venture has showed me that I can keep growing things and I don't have to stop just because the weather turns. And the fact that I'm not going to have to put my garden away means that I don't have to, meaning I don't have to rototill it under, means I can keep planting into the fall. And I'm kind of looking forward to carrying us far into the fall and closing the gap between fall and spring so that it feels like more is growing. And I have more wildflowers or more flowers growing in my greenhouse to slowly fill in some of my yard, and I'm really looking forward to this venture over the next couple of years to just kind of make it be a flower haven. I did watch a YouTuber who was talking a lot more about pruning back and cutting the tomatoes, which I don't know. I usually snip a few as they get mature, and I do cage them. I'll cage them pretty soon here. But I haven't done that a ton because I end up with a big, massive harvest. I don't know if Oregon, if it's not as necessary because we have a little bit longer growing season because we don't get too hot too soon, or if I've just been not getting as many as I could, or they weren't getting as ripe as fast. I don't know. So I'm going to thin those back, the kale back. I'm going to prune these out, and I'm going to spend all of 10 minutes weeding. Do you think it'd take me 10 minutes to weed that? That's 2 weeks of summertime growth, and that's usually when I lose it. Right about this time of year, I'm starting to pick the fruit and eat it off the vine and ignoring the mess. And my husband gets ornery and rototills a bunch of stuff under and asks me to tame the jungle, and I'm like, it's too overwhelming. It's too much work, and it's usually hot of the day, and it just kind of I like to watch them grow in the spring, and I like to lay it out and all of the beauty of that, and then at some point it's just kind of overwhelming. So this is new. That's a wild, I don't know what this is going to be. I let all of these, I thinned several down, but I kind of let them. I kind of like the jungly look of it, but it's whatever was in my compost or whatever was in there the year before. So it's a volunteer, and I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. So it should have some fruit on there. It's kind of super big. So maybe I'll take a peek here and see if it, I haven't actually seen a flower yet. Oh yeah, there's flowers down in there, but I don't see any fruit sets yet. That seems kind of weird to me that it would be this big without an actual fruit set on it. So I don't know, maybe it won't produce. I would assume it would, but oh, here's another good example. So these weeds came up in the dirt that I had exposed for the pea starts, and again, I'm just going to come in here and do that little tiny thing. Even though it's almost July and usually the ground would be so packed, it would make this so that it was almost impossible to get it out by the root. And just keep taking it out by the root, and I'll add those to my pile and not leave them in the alleyways, but for now that's good enough. So I took a little video over here at my flower bed because you can really see what my natural ground would do if in Oregon here if I didn't cover it with the mulch. And so I'll show you that as well, just so you can see, like, not necessarily the garden dirt, it's actually just the dirt. This is my rose flower bed, and I want to show a pretty good example of the difference between the bark chip mulch underneath the base and where the bark chip ended, and it's not quite my driveway yet. You can see how much weeds grow in. So this is what my Oregon dirt does if you do not have it covered. So I should extend my wood chips out to where the gravel's so packed it can't grow. But seriously, that is a lot of weeding that I am not doing. Literally all of that would be covered with weeds. And so there you go. Look at all those possible weeds. They're on the edge. So here I'll have to decide with my husband where we increase our gravel, or decide to keep it going here. And that's where they load the piles. So that actually has gravel underneath of it, but it's where the mulch is, so there's no weeds. So there's a pretty darn good example of the difference. And I'm kind of happy that most of my stuff looks like that. Obviously under the fence where the honeysuckle is growing, the honeysuckle is giant and I got some moles growing through. That's one thing I will say, my mole population is increasing because they're very happy. What's going on? He's stuck. What's the matter, buddy? Are you stuck? What's the matter? Oh. Okay, I gotta help you. You do that? Was your leg okay? Let's see, what did you do? There we go. I think now we gotta find out if your leg is busted, huh? Oh, look. Is it videoing for sure? Yeah. Are you okay? You're just a little guy. Huh? Picture. Let's see. Actually, let's see how he's doing here. Can you fly? There he goes. He's all right. We watched the little blue jay for a while and he was plenty okay. Thank you for watching my videos and I appreciate it if you hit the like button and the subscribed. I didn't realize how important that was until I started this new YouTube channel journey. And I'm totally loving and appreciating all the little comments. Thank you very much and see you next time.